Okay, welcome to the week 13 topic of the forensic photography of police work application and the surveillance work. So dito pag-uusapan na natin yung application mismo ng photography when it comes to police or the law enforcement. So, significance of photography in police work. So, in modern scientific crime detection, photography is indeed an excellent aid of the investigator. Paano siya nagiging excellent aid? Do you think that why does photography can be an excellent aid when it comes to the investigator? Number one, 'di ba? We can record the events. 'Di ba? So it will automatically record the events through the use of photograph. Kayo na nga lang kapag sa school, pag nagsulat si ma'am, kung nagmamadali ka, aalis ka na, hindi mo masulat yung sinusulat ni ma'am, anong gagawin mo? You will take down the photos. Diba? The investigator could not just rely on his memories and therefore need an artificial recorder for him to remember all the things and facts that he had investigated. Through the use of photograph, we can preserve evidence, we can preserve the scene. Ibig sabihin nun, hindi mo kailangan isulat lahat. But because of that photograph, in just one click, na-record lahat. Diba? Aside from the notes of the investigator, he needs a camera because there are things which require accurate descriptions. What are the things that needs accurate descriptions? For example, yung evidence na kutsilyo. Ayan. Paano mabibigay yung accurate description nun, ma'am? O for example, dun sa photo kasi makita mo kung ano yung shape ng kutsilyo, kung meron ba siyang tanda, kung may letterings ba siya. Diba? Yung mga yon talaga, yung mga accurate description, yung mga small details na yon, napakakailangan natin sa evidences. Diba? Sabi nga niya, there are evidences that requires accurate descriptions of subjects or objects being investigated. Hence, photographs will serve the purpose. So, yung kasing photography, it will make their work easier. Just try to imagine if we don't have photography in law enforcement, everything should be jot down. Paano yun, ma'am? Isulat lahat nila sa notebook nila, i-sketch pa nila isa-isa para lang matandahan lahat ng bagay. So the first application of photography in law enforcement was confirmed to the problems of personal identification. So the photographers of the criminals was taken and used to supplement the classification made under the Bertillon system of personal identification. So the first use of photography in law enforcement is in the personal identification. Ano yun, ma'am? Ito yung tawag dito, kina-capture nila, ni-record nila yung itsura. Yan. So, 5 legal methods of preserving the crime scene. So, number 1 is photography. The next is sketching, note-taking or description, mannequin method, and preservation in the mind of the witness or kung ano yung nakita ng witness. Pero tingnan nyo yung pinaka number 1, photography. Because photography saves it all in just one click. Tingnan nyo yung sketching, i-drawing mo pa yan isa-isa. Note-taking, isusulat mo pa isa-isa. Mannequin method, yung parang i-reconstruct mo siya isa-isa. Preservation in the mind of the witness. Kung what if naman makakalimutan yung witness mo. So, mawawala lahat yan. So, number 1, dyan, legal method of preserving the crime scene is through photography. So, importance of photography in law enforcement. 1, the utmost use of it is for record purposes. Photography will record the scene of the crime permanently. So, photography can preserve or perishable evidences. When we say perishable evidences, these are the evidences that malapit ng mabulok or masira. For example, blood. Diba? Paano na preserve ni photography si evidence na blood? Kasi within that day, pwede niyang i-capture yung splatter ng blood. Diba? Yung mismong itsura ng blood na hindi na siya nasira. For example, katawan yan, bangkay siya. Nabubulok ba ang bangkay? The answer is yes. Diba? So, anong mangyari with the use of photography? With the use of photography, we can preserve that body. Paano? Makakapture natin every detail of that body. Diba? Photography can be used in the identification of physical evidence. Kasi makikita mo nga itsura. Photography is necessary in the interrogation of suspects. A series of photographs will show the action or reaction of the suspects at the time he made a confession. So, ginagamit din nila yung photography, di ba, kapag nag-i-interrogate sila, ipapakita nila to. Oh, nakita mo na ba to? Sabi nila yan. Makikita mo yung reaction niya, if guilty ba siya, nagulat ba siya, through that series of photography. So, those are the importance of photography when it comes to law enforcement. Ito pa, photography can provide a system or technique in making visible things that cannot be seen by the naked eye. Can you give me some example of this one? What are those things? The photography can provide a system or technique in making visible things that cannot be seen by the naked eye.
Yun po yung mga nakikita ng UAV.
Ultraviolet, ma'am.
Oo, yan. Ito na yung gagamitin natin yung mga techniques katulad ng ultraviolet, infrared, yung mga invisible or yung mga tinatawag nating latent prints na hindi nakikita sa mata natin magiging visible through the use of photography. Okay. Kasi 'di ba kahit anong gawin natin through our naked eye, hindi mo makita 'yan. But if you use kanwari ultraviolet light, so, paano mo makukuhanan yon through ultraviolet light? By using photography. Yan. Photography can be useful in determination of the truth respecting a matter of fact. Evidence that cannot be brought inside the courtroom can be presented by means of photographs. Another thing, eto, sabi niya, yung mga bagay daw na hindi daw natin pwedeng dalhin sa courtroom, pwede daw nating dalhin sa mismong court. For example, yung evidence natin is yung mismong bahay. Dadalhin mo ba yung bahay sa loob ng korte? Hindi. Hindi naman kasya. Hindi naman maalis yan. Hindi siya movable. So, anong gagawin ni photography? Para mapakita mo na yung pinaka-evidence mo is yung bahay. Pipicturean mo yung bahay. Diba? That is the best, yun mga best use ng mga photography when it comes to law enforcement. So, crime scene photography, sometimes referred as forensic photography or forensic imaging. So, those are the another term for crime scene photography, forensic photography, and forensic imaging. That is why yung ating title ng subject na to is forensic photography. It is the art of producing accurate, tignan nyo, accurate, it means tama, reproduction of crime scenes or an accident scene using photography for the benefit of the court or to aid in an investigation. That is why tinawag siyang forensic photography. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, dati nung prelims, photography should be art, science, process, sabi niya. Then photography, iba-iba siya. Yung isang part ng gamit ng photography is ito, forensic photography. Okay, if we are dealing photography that we can use in the court, that we can use in aid in investigation, we called it forensic photography, forensic imaging, or crime scene photography. We cannot call it as photography itself lang. Okay, hindi siya pwedeng tawagin photography lang. Okay, kailangan tawagin nyo siyang forensic photography, forensic imaging, or crime scene photography para ma-distinguish na yung sinasabi nating photography dito is all about the use of photography when it comes to court or as an aid in an investigation. So it is also the one of the most important steps in the entire investigation process. So as one of the primary documentation components, systematic, organized, visual record of an undisturbed crime scene must be achieved. Kaya tinuruan kayo kung paano yung mga principles ng photography or anong gagawin nyo para mabigay yung accurate representations ng mga images. For example, madilim, gumagalaw siya, paano mo siya makakapture. That is why pinag-aralan natin yon during prelims and midterms. So, purpose of crime scene photography. So, to provide a visual record of the scene and related areas, to record the initial appearance of the crime scene and physical evidences, to provide investigators and others with the permanent record, subsequent analysis of the scene, and to provide the permanent record to the court. Lahat yan, record sila. Kasi nga, nire-record ni crime scene photographer ni forensic photography. Forensic photographer. Kayo ba pwedeng maging forensic photographer someday? Do you think?
Opo.
Okay, one day if you decided to apply in the SOCO siguro or sa crime lab ng PNP, so mag-undergo lang kayo ng another separate training for forensic photography, then you can be a forensic photographer. Okay, ma-apply nyo siya dyan. Or pwede rin naman yata yung outside agency, katulad nung sa amin, sa schooling namin. Meron sa mga nagtuturo, or sometimes kasama din nga namin yung mga pulis na nag-aaral kami or nag-training kami ng forensic photography. So, commonly referred to a crime scene photographer or an evidence photographer. So, it is a professional photographer who is skilled in the art of producing only the most exact, detailed photographs that records the crime scene and the physical evidence within the crime scene as objectively and accurately as possible. Ang kinagandahan sa forensic photographer, okay, ang kailangan mo lang palitawin sa mismong mga images mo is yung ano yung nakikita ng naked eye mo. Paano mo makaka-capture ng naked eye mo yan? Okay? Paano mo makikita yung accurate representation ng mga objects kahit madilim or gumagalaw siya. Yun ang trabaho mo as a forensic photographer. Hindi mo trabaho as a forensic photographer na to beautify your image, yung mga nakikita natin sa mga commercial photography or yung mga kanwari, yung sa mga kasal, sa mga prenup, ganyan, or sa mga party, hindi natin kailangan i-edit ng ganun. Ang kailangan lang natin is to present those images into an accurate form. Yan. Kung ano yung tamang itsura niya. Hindi nyo siya kailangan i-blurred sa likod, i-blurred dito. Ang kailangan yung i-produce na photo is objectively and accurately as possible. Yun ang dapat mong matutunan na skill as a forensic photographer. Also, ang pag-aaral nyo dito as a forensic photographer is yung tamang procedure kung paano nyo kukuhanin or i-record yung isang event or yung isang crime scene. Kasi meron tayong step-by-step procedure dyan, which is itatackle natin next meeting. So, task of the scene. Ito, task of the scene of the crimes operations forensic photographer. Pwede na dito. Summary lang to, pero mas maganda pa rin yung actual. May prepare akong video dito para mas actual na alam nyo ang gagawin. So, number 1, photograph the entire area before it is entered. So, these are just only reminders that you need to remember as a forensic photographer. Number 1, photograph entire area before it is entered. So, bago pumasok yung mga investigator, bago pumasok yung mga magkukuha ng evidences, anong kailangan mo gawin? I-preserve mo na. You need to photograph the entire area before it is entered. Pangalawa, photograph the victims, the crowds, and the vehicles. You need to photograph the victim kung doon sa crime scene na yun. Ma'am, bakit pati yung crowd and vehicles? Why do you think, for example, sa isang bahay, merong nangyaring krimen. Tapos, kailangan mo ring picturean yung mga vehicles sa labas ng bahay, pati yung mga usisero. Why do you think so? Can you give me some of your idea? Why do you think so na kailangan natin picturean pati yung crowd or yung mga usisero sa labas? Hello?
Kasi ma'am, malay mo siya sa kanila yung ma'am, gumawa ng krimen.
Tama. We need to take a capture of the crowd and vehicles kasi baka isa sa kanila is yung gumawa ng krimen, 'di ba? Or suspect natin. Baka hindi pa siya nakakalayo. Nakikiisyoso mo siya. Or baka nakikialam-alam kung nagpapanggap ng kung ano. So that is why you need to photograph the victims, the crowd, and the vehicles. Photograph the entire scene with general, medium, close-up coverage, and extreme close-up view using measurement scale when appropriate. So ituturo ko din yan next meeting. So kapag mag-picture kasi, meron general view, medium view, close-up view, at saka extreme close-up view with measurement or scale. So, kung meron kayong mga meters dyan, labas-labas yun na, or even mga medida, or pwede rin namang ruler. Okay? Photograph major evidence items before they are moved. So, bago nila alisin yung mga major evidences na yan, kailangan nyo munang i-capture. Coordinate this effort with the sketcher, evidence custodian, and evidence recovery. Photograph all latent fingerprints. Latent, it means invisible or not visible in our naked eye. And other impression evidence before lifting and casting is accomplish. For example, meron kayong fingerprint sa baso. Ganyan. Kailangan bago nyo i-lift yan. 'Di ba? Tinuro na ba sa inyo kung paano i-lift yung mga fingerprints?
Di pa po.
Di pa
Hindi
po.
pa. Okay. 'Di ba na yun yung forensic ano nyo? Tama po ba ako? Ngayon yung personal identification nyo? Siguro
Bukas
ito,
po.
oh,
Ako,
yan.
ma'am.
Hindi, I mean, this sem din siya. Siguro ituturo na rin yan sa inyo kung paano mag-lift ng fingerprints. Sasabay natin yan sa application nyo doon sa crime scene nyo. So, ang mangyayari, you need to lift that, before lifting those latent fingerprints, you need to take a photo of it. Kung kanwari, nasa baso siya, naiwan siya, so lalagyan nyo muna nung, di ba, meron kayong mga powder para makita yung mga fingerprints and then lalagyan nyo ng tape, di ba? So, bago nyo alisin yung tape na yon, kailangan picturean nyo muna para makita natin na merong fingerprint doon. So, as a photographer, ganun din. Ganun ginagawa nila. Bago i-lift or yung bago kuhanin yung evidence na yan ng ating mga sketcher, evidence custodian, evidence recovery personnel, ang gagawin nila is to photograph muna yung mga latent fingerprints before they can lift it from that object. So, photograph blueprints, maps, and previous photographs of scene as required. Take a final photograph to show final condition as release. Ayan. And then, the last one, after nilang kinuha yung mga evidences na yan, kukuhanan nyo pa siya one more time kahit wala na yung mga evidences. Para talagang de-preserve yung ating crime scene. So, don't you worry, magpa-provide ako ng video for that. So, importance of crime scene photography, number 1, permanent record. Ito, di ko na, significance of certain aspects of the crime scene. As the initial stages of an investigation, the significance of certain aspects of the crime scene may not be evident, although later on they may vitally affect the issues in the case. So the first step in the investigation of any crime is photograph all suspects, all the crime scenes, completely and accurately before any of the object's evidence are removed or otherwise disturbed. So photographs should also be taken after the body or bodies have been removed. It is always better to take too many photographs than too few. So, kapag nagtitake ka ng crime scene photography, kukuhanan mo yan bago sila pumasok, bago nila kunin yung mga evidences, and then, after din nilang kuhanin yung mga evidences. Ang trabaho mo as a forensic photographer, ikaw yung mauna, ikaw din ang mahuhuli. Yan. Kung kanwari, crime lab kayo, pumasok kayo sa isang crime scene. So, ang trabaho mo, ikaw ang mauuna, ikaw din ang mahuhuli. Kasi after nilang nakuha lahat ng evidences na yan, pipicturean ulit. Sabi nga nila dito, it is always better to take too many photographs than too few. Mas maganda ng mas madami ang nakuha mong photographs kesa dun sa konti. Kasi kapag madami, magbabawas ka na lang ng mga hindi na kailangan, 'di ba? Kesa dun sa konti, hindi mo na kasi pwedeng balikan yung crime scene eh, 'di ba? Hindi na siya katulad nung dati kapag babalikan natin. Yan. And number 3 importance is reconstruction of the crime scene, 'di ba? With the use of that photographs, we can easily reconstruct kung ano yung nangyari doon sa loob ng place na yon. A study of photographs can also assist the trained investigator or crime scene specialist in reconstructing the crime scene and developing conclusions about how the crime occurred. 'Di ba may mga investigator na hindi nga siya nakapunta doon sa mismong crime scene, but through the use of photographs, nare-reconstruct niya, okay, napunta pala doon yung sofa, nandito yung mismong victim, tapos nandito yung kutsilyo, nandun ang splatter ng blood. Dahil nakita niya doon sa photograph na ganun nga ang nangyari. Therefore, nakaka-reconstruct sila easily. Baka tinulak si ganito, dito nag-away muna sila, tapos sinaksak na siya dito. 'Di ba? Yun ang use ng crime scene photography. So, in addition, the photographs will make the job of the prosecutor much easier when a case is presented in the courtroom. Kasi, pag nakita mo yung photograph na to, as you can see, Your Honor, sabihin mo, nandito na po yung sofa. Ibig sabihin, tinulak muna siya. Nare-reconstruct nila. So, when necessary, photographs can be coordinated with the crime scene sketches or drawings that are made to scale. So, yung mga crime scene sketches naman, pwede nating sketcher, pwede na silang mag-coordinate with the crime scene photographer. Next, include ko na dito yung digital photography. So, a form of photography that uses digital technology to make images of the subject. Ito na kasing ginagamit natin yon at ang gagamitin nyo din sa ating mga susunod na lab activities. So, digital photographs can be displayed, printed, stored, manipulated, transmitted, and archived using digital and computer techniques without chemical processing. Ang kinagandaan sa digital photography, kumpara mo doon sa ginagawa nating manual, yung meron mo ng chemical processing, mas madali ang digital photographs. Ang kinapangit lang sa digital photography, sometimes kasi they can manipulate it. Paano manipulate? Pwede nilang i-edit. 'Di ba? Hindi katulad doon sa mga film photography na kung ano yung nakuha mo, yun na lang talaga, i-enhance mo na lang yung filters para mag-bright yung colors niya. Ganyan. So, it is one of the several forms of digital imaging. So, these are created by non-photographic equipment such as computer tomography scanners and radio telescopes. It can also be made by scanning conventional photographic images. Ayan. So, ito yung mga features niyan, di ba? We have the sensor, the storage. Kayo, sa ating mga activities niyan, if you have DSLR, much better. Kung meron kayong mga digital cameras, much better. Pero kung wala naman, you can use your phone. Okay po? Basta, wag lang kayong gagamit ng merong special effects. Okay po. You can use the manual camera light. Di ba, nakasama na yun sa mismong, tawag dito, sa mismong activities natin noon. So, kung gusto nyo, for example, madilim, ganito, kayo nang bahalang maglaro sa mismong camera nyo, sa settings ng camera nyo. Yan. Multifunctionally and connectivity. Kasi 'di ba through the digital camera, pwede mo na agad i-store sa flash drive, sa memory card, pwede rin sa computer, ganyan. So ito yung mga yan. Ito yung mga features ng digital photography. Hindi ko na siya i-elaborate pa. Okay. So ito na lang. Advantages of digital camera, instant review of pictures. Hindi katulad kapag film, 'di ba? Dito agad makita mo kung blurred or pangit yung nakuha mo. Minimal ongoing costs for those wishing to capture hundreds of photographs. Kahit ilang photographs, okay lang. Permanent storage on digital media, considerably cheaper than film. Yes, photos may be copied from one digital medium to another. Pictures need not to be scanned before viewing on a computer. And ability to print photos using a computer and consumer-grade printer. Hindi na kailangan ng mga chemical processing pa. Ability to embed metadata within the image file. Ability to capture, store hundreds of photographs on the same media device. Include AV out connector and occupable to allow the reviewing of photographs to an audience using television. Ayan. Anti-shake functionality. Yung, alam niyo yung hindi siya magalaw kahit mag-video ka or hindi siya magiging blurred. Ayan. Ability to use same device to capture video as well as still images, and ability to convert the same photo from color to sepia to black and white. Ayan. What are the considerations for digital camera? Changing computer technology may make digital photographs inaccessible in the future. Use of digital photographs in court proceedings. So, meron naman tayong batas, which is madidiscuss siya, alam ko, bago tayo mag-finals. Meron tayong batas for the acceptance of the photos using the digital photography. So, it requires batteries that needs to be recharged. It is much more sensitive to moisture and extreme cold. Types of digital camera, we have the camera phones. Alam nyo na yan. Compact camera, ito yung, hindi siya DSLR. Alam nyo yung portable na camera no, na nauso, yung maliit na parang square lang siya. Digicam ang tawag natin sa kanila. Yun ang mga tinatawag nating compact cameras. And the DSLR. Next, videography. Okay. Gagawa rin po ba kaming videography, ma'am? Yes. Kasama nung crime scene photography nyo. Sasabay natin, habang nagtitake kayo ng picture sa crime scene nyo, gagawa rin kayo ng videography nyo, ng crime scene nyo mismo. So, it refers to the process of capturing or moving images on electronic media. So, the term includes methods of electronic production and post-production. It is the equivalent of cinematography but with images recorded on the electronic media instead of film stock. Kung papipiliin ko kayo, ano sa tingin nyo ang mas magandang evidence? A photograph or videography?
Videography, ma'am.
Why?
Videography?
Why?
Sa videography, ma'am, full picture, ma'am, ano. Yung kung ano lang makikita mo doon, yun lang yung makikita niyo, ma'am.
Tama. Kasi sa videography, marerecord niya lahat. Tama po, 'di ba? Hindi mo man makuhanan ng tama sa picture, but the use of videography, it records everything. Kaya nga 'di ba kapag sa mga crime scene, ah kasi kapag photo lang, kailangan mo pang i-reconstruct. 'Di ba? Yung reconstruct, it means isipin mo pa ano yung nangyari. Pero kapag may video, anong nangyari? Napakalakas ng ebidensya. Bakit? Kasi alam mo na yung actual na ng yayari. Kapag siguro during kung may nangyayaring crime, mas maganda na meron kang video na nakuha, kahit may CCTV ka doon sa crime scene. At least yon, hindi na kailangan pang mag-reconstruct pa ng crime scene ng mga law enforcers natin or ng mga investigators. Kasi makikita mo na doon sa video kung ano ang ginagawa nila. Yun ang kinagandaan ng videography. Pero sometimes, syempre, hindi naman nare-record agad-agad ang crime. O what if madaming mga nagagawang krimen, wala namang CCTV, ma'am. So, pwede ba naming i-record yung crime scene na nakita namin through the use of videography? Yes, pwede po. So, habang nagpipicture kayo, may nagvi-video. So, video gives immediate results without the need of processing. Hindi mo na kailangan niyang i-print. Di ba? Kasi agad-agad, yun na yan. Video can be used more than once simply by recording over previous recordings. Visual movement allows the viewer to accurately perceive the scene as it is shown. For example, yung kutsilyo. Tinitingnan mo siyang ganyan, binibidyo mo, gaano kakapal, gaano kaliit, diba? Anong color niya. Sound may be included. Yes, kailangan. So, videography, we have the video camera is attached to separate recorder or playback unit or yung sa cellphone nyo. Video camcorder, pwede rin naman yung, it has a built-in recorder, yung mga talagang pang videos na ginagamit nating camera. And crime scene videography, it is a valuable as an overview for presentation in court as well as moving analysis of the scenes. So it allows for a documented perspective of the crime scenes which cannot be captured in reports, interviews, or photographs. For example, tumutulo yung ganto ganyan, gusto nyong ipakita kay judge na tumutulo kasi yung merong nagli-leak na ganto. Para makita mo yung image na yon or ma-present natin sa mismong korte through the use of videography. So, kung hindi ma-preserve ng photograph, hindi ma-preserve or hindi natin mapakita through reports or interviews, we can use videography. So, considerations in videography. So, prior to videotaping, the investigator should walk the designated videographer through the scene. Pero usually, ginagawa nila yan sabay. Habang nagvi-video sila, nagpo-photo na din sila. Diba nga sa mga camera din natin sa cellphone, pwede yung habang nagvi-video ka, tapos nagtitake ka ng pictures. Tama po ba ako?
Yes, ma'am.
Diba? Habang
Pwede po.
pwede yun. Videos should begin with an overall general view of the scene. Ganun din, kung paano yung ginagawa natin to take the photographs step by step, ganoon din yung step by step ng videography. So, if the scene is indoors, then the video should include an overall pan of the outside location. Ganun din naman sa photograph. So, the tape should then included a brief preamble by the investigator, which includes the narrator's name, the case number, time, date, location of the incident, and a concise description of all rooms and evidence to be viewed in the tape. Ito yung sinasabi nilang tape, ito yung police line do not cross. Tapos kasi nakalagay sa gitna nun, yung pinaka-papel or white board na parang nakalagay na ito yung crime case number ganto ganyan. Tapos ilalagay nila yung date. Tapos ilalagay nila yung sino yung pumuntang SOCO or anumang police station yan. Plus yung initials nung crime scene photographer natin, which is kayo yon. Okay, nagagawin nyo later on. Lahat yan, lahat ng steps na gagawin na yan, ituturo ko po next meeting. Okay. So, ngayon, kailangan lang natin i-discuss sa inyo yung mga principles ng ating videography and yung ating crime scene photography. Okay, asan na ba tayo? Ayan. Upon completion of this introduction, audio should be disabled as to not bias the jury, and videotaping of the scene should begin with a general overview of the crime scene and adjoining areas. So, the only exception to this is the inclusion of explanation of what a given piece evidence. So, however, care must be taken not to say anything that could emotionally bias a jury, as doing so can result in the judge denying the videotape as evidence. So upon initiation of the crime scene video analysis, the cameraman should use the close-up, wide-angle views to show the location of evidence, relevance of evidence, and the scene layout. Sabihin nyo naman gagawin yan. Slow camera movements such as zooming and panning should be used while videotaping. Pwede kayong mag-zoom, diba? Pwede rin yung slow motion para makita yung gestures. Close-ups of small items of evidence should include a scale to illustrate the size of the item. Close-up, we use kasi close-up photograph doon sa mga maliliit or minute details of the evidences. Kapag sinabing maliliit, for example, you need to take a photo of yung parang needle na pinangsaksak doon sa mismong suspect, ganyan. They need to have a close-up video of or photograph on it. And the last one, no personnel should be present in the video whatsoever and the content must be relevant to the case and not produce a level of emotional bias. Kasi nga, diba, sabi nga natin, as a crime scene photographer, ikaw ang unang papasok, ikaw din ang huling papasok. Ganun din sa videography. So, habang ikaw ang, habang nag-take ka ng photos, kung uunahin mo yung video, pwede mo naman isunod yung photos. Pero dapat wala silang nakikitang nasa loob ng crime scene. Ikaw lang. Ikaw lang na nagtitake ng photos. So ideally, camera work should be accomplished by a professional trained to walk through the crime scene without disturbing any evidence. So furthermore, videotaping does not replace the crime scene photography. Rather, it acts as more graphical representation of different aspects of the scene. So those are the considerations in videography. Again, next meeting, ang ituturo ko sa inyo niyan is kung yung mga step-by-step procedures natin on how to take or on how to take over a crime scene. Okay po? Plus mo na din, siguro isasama ko na din para next meeting. Mas maganda kasi tuloy-tuloy yung discussion doon para pwede nyo nang gawin minsanan yung activity nyo. Okay po? I-include na rin natin yung mga special techniques. For example, yung mga footprints, yung mga fingerprints, ayan, paano iti-take ng photo, ganyan. Pag-uusapan din natin yan. So, may tanong kayo? Do you have any questions?